Lesson 3 of Engineering Mathematics, Simplifying Radical Expressions. Product rule of square roots. If a and b are non-negative numbers, the square root of the product ab is equal to the square root of a multiplied to the square root of b. This rule is applicable to any radicals with the same index. As shown here, square root of a multiplied to the square root of b equals the product of square root of a and b. In this example, we are given the radical square root of 192 x cubed y raised to 4. And it's telling us to simplify this radical to its simplest form. To do so, we need to think of a number. Since 192 is not a perfect square number, we need to think of a number that is a perfect square, and another number in order to get 192. And that number would be square root of 64 and square root of 3. Since 64 times 3 is 192, and 64 is a perfect square number since 8 times 8 equals 64. Now x cubed, to simplify this, we can separate x squared and x. Since multiplying two variables, their exponent will only add up. So it will turn into, if you separate this, it will turn into square root of x squared times square root of x, since x squared times x is simply x cubed. Same can be done to y raised to 4. Square root of it, and it will turn out to be square root of y squared times square root of y squared, since again multiplying two variables, their exponent will only add. So y squared times y squared, it's y raised to 4. After doing so, we can then simplify the perfect square numbers. Square root of 64 is simply 8 times 3, since it's a constant. And 3 is not a perfect square number, so we leave it as square root of 3. Square root of x squared is x. And we leave square root of x alone because it is not a perfect square number. Square root of y squared and the other square root of y squared can be simplified down to y. After doing so, we just multiply all these together, which will give us 8 square root of 3 xy squared square root of x. See that 8 square root of 3 is at the front. This is because this is its numerical coefficient, and then followed by the variables and square root of x. Your final answer will be 8 square root of 3 xy squared square root of x.